Have you ever imagined a hero sleeping at the foot of your bed, lying on the living room rug, waiting just for the right moment to act? The sound of hurried footsteps, the heavy breathing piercing the air, the ordinary street of your neighborhood, and suddenly a quick cut, a dog on alert, staring through a slightly out-of-focus fence. In less than a minute, everything could have gone wrong. If not for him, a four-legged hero who saw the danger before anyone else. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover may surprise you. This isn't just another one of many moving animal stories. It's a reminder of how life-saving dogs are closer than we think. The scene begins like this. Late afternoon, backpack on your back, a child walking home from school along a sidewalk you recognize with your eyes closed. The neighborhood seems safe. The routine is always the same, but the family dog, that faithful companion of everyday life, notices something no one else does. His body stiffens, his ears prick, his chest swells with a restrained bark. It's the canine protective instinct speaking louder, the territorial instinct that, for thousands of years, has made dogs watchful guardians. Have you ever experienced this? That moment when your furry friend stares in one direction and you don't understand it at first, but your skin crawls as if something invisible is there. It's in that split second that everything changes. An adult approaches with an awkward smile, a rehearsed question, an invitation disguised as kindness. The alert dog takes a step forward, placing itself as a living barrier between the child and the stranger. The aggressor's breathing falters, his posture betrays his intention. There's no theatrical scream, no movie scene. There's the correct, precise gesture, an act of courage that only those who are natural guardians can perform without a second thought. Firm barks break the air, summon neighbors, disrupt the routine of danger. The hero dog isn't attacking, he's signaling, driving away, winning through the impact of his warning. What you'll see today is how an ordinary dog dismantled a child abduction in seconds, and how small family decisions contributed to this outcome. You might think only guard dogs would do this, but the truth is that many family dogs carry this instinct for child protection into their daily lives. They learn the rhythm of the home, recognize smells, footsteps, and silences, and pick up on tiny deviations in the body language of those who approach. In real-life stories of dogs who saved a child, a pattern repeats itself. The combination of the emotional bond and accurate reading of the environment creates a kind of natural alarm. And when the child is also instructed not to approach strangers, to keep their distance, and to seek help, the furry hero finds a perfect partner to act. If you love heartwarming animal stories, prepare to feel your heart race. We'll talk about child protection without sensationalism, but with the urgency the topic demands. We'll show how a dog who saved lives without a cape or medal used what he holds most dear: presence, courage, and loyalty. And at the same time, we'll reveal the detail no one noticed at first, that small signal that triggered the alarm before danger became inevitable. Stay with me until the end, because understanding these signs can make a difference in your family's safety. Today, you'll see, step by step, how it all happened, why it worked, and what you can apply to your routine with your family dog to make him an even more attentive ally. It's not a miracle manual, it's practice, observation, and bonding. And when we combine this with the canine's protective instinct, an invisible shield is born that accompanies the child on the way to and from the house, at the gate, and on the sidewalk. Take a deep breath, adjust the volume, and follow me. In the next few moments, you'll enter the timeline of this encounter, from the first suspicious glance to the exact moment the four-legged hero made the decision that changed everything. Before moving on to the timeline and sharing every detail of this turning point, let me open a very human space between us. If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below with what touched you most so far. Maybe it was the look on the dog's face as he crossed the fence, perhaps the shiver that came when the stranger took his first step, perhaps the memory of your own furry friend silently protecting you. Your story helps create a map of real experiences and, frankly, guides what we delve into here. When you comment, the platform understands that this conversation matters, that stories of dogs who save lives need to reach more families who sometimes don't even know they need to hear it today. And if you feel like supporting this message, click like. It seems like a simple gesture, but it's like turning on a flashlight on a cloudy night. Suddenly, more people see the way. If you want to walk with us through the next cases, the next layers of canine protective instinct, and the practices that make everyday life safer, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people with this kind of content. It's what gives us the energy to investigate, tell, and care for each story with the care it deserves. And if you've been through something similar, share it. Your comment could be just the push someone needs to pay attention to their dog's signals. Breathe with me, because now let's return to the late afternoon street, to the hesitant step of the stranger, and the moment when the steady barks break the air, calling neighbors and repositioning the destination in seconds, as if the clock stopped, just so four-legged courage could take the lead and open the way to what comes next. His name is Baruch. 3 years old, medium-sized, with that look that seems to constantly ask if everything is okay. He's not a competition dog, nor was he bred to be a guard dog. He's the friend who learned the house routine like someone memorizing a song, waking up with the family, spinning around twice before lying down on the living room rug, checking the front door when he hears footsteps in the hallway. His temperament is calm but attentive, playful, but with a presence that fills the room. At night, he slept at the foot of the bed, and in the morning, backpack on, he waited for the child to leave for school. The scene repeated itself like a small ritual of affection. Baruch would accompany him to the gate, put his nose between the bars, and when he saw the street was safe, he would return to the yard for his first run of the day. It seems like a behind-the-scenes, unglamorous experience, but this is where the silent transformation begins. The building of trust that, without anyone noticing, trains the nose and senses for quick decisions when the slightest signs of danger arise. They live on a quiet street in a residential neighborhood, a rural town where almost everyone greets each other by name. Late afternoons are often filled with children on bikes, neighbors sweeping the sidewalk, and a breeze announces the smell of dinner. Typical walk times are after 4 p.m., when the sun eases and the shade of the trees lengthens the ground. Most days, the mother picks up the child from school on foot because it's nearby. When it rains, the father drives by. Everyone knows Baruch. On the short journey, he walks alongside, nose up, tail moving, not with uncontrolled euphoria, but with a rhythm that says, "I'm here." This is the hidden truth that often goes unnoticed in moving stories. The four-legged hero is shaped by the repetition of everyday life, by the mindset of constancy, by the sum total of seemingly banal micro-decisions, sitting before crossing the street, waiting for the gate to close, ignoring distractions. He knows sit, stay, here, and most importantly, responds to his name with full attention. It's not about tricks, it's about bonding, about the impact of well-directed affection. Opening, the mental album of photos and videos from his daily life. Everything seems simple. Baruch plays in the yard with a worn-out blue ball, lies on his belly when the child returns from school, participates in the chores like an excited assistant, watching the backpacks being packed, the uniforms being changed, the snacks being placed on the table. When the doorbell rings, he goes to the door, looking first at the family, then at whoever has arrived. This checking look is a discreet revelation. The dog observes the mood of the house and regulates his own energy. It's as if there's an invisible line that tells him when to play and when to be on guard, even if no one has uttered the word. Do you recognize this? The feeling that, without being told, your dog assumes the right role at the right time. This is where the canine hero's journey meets the family's. Each confident gesture teaches the other to trust, and this trust is the foundation that sustains quick responses when the street changes tone. In this neighborhood, everyone has seen Baruch at the gate, that presence that doesn't intimidate, but also doesn't play with strangers. On some weekends, the family takes a longer route, passing through the square, and there the basic training emerges organically. Sit to wait, eye contact before letting go of the leash, return at the first call. There's no shouting, no pulling, there's consistency. The dog looks to the human for guidance because it's learned that the voice of the house is safe. This consistency shapes perception in tense moments. When the child plays with a toy car on the living room floor and someone approaches from behind, Baruch lifts his head before the person even appears in his field of vision. It's not magic, it's reading the environment, a skill that in dogs combines smell, hearing, and micro-expressions in a permanent scanner. The family may not know how to name it, but they experience this radar daily. Think about it. How many small variables create a climate of safety? The best-lit street chosen by conscious decision, the habit of saying, "I'll be right back" to the dog when leaving the house, the rule of crossing only at the crosswalk in front of Mr. Juon's bakery. Each choice forms a map, and on this map, Baruch is like a GPS point that updates the route in real time, because he notices deviations we ignore. When someone approaches too quickly, he shifts his body half a step ahead of the child. When he senses hesitation, he fixes his gaze, neck bracing, ears alert. These are subtle movements, a silent language that conveys risk before it even manifests. The great revelation is that this understanding doesn't arise at the height of danger. It blossoms on lazy Saturday mornings, on rhythmic strolls, in the unconditional friendship that needs no applause. The family home has a side hallway that leads to the backyard. In the morning, the sun hits the ceramic tiles, creating a trail of light that Baruch loves to follow, as if it were a made-up challenge. A recurring scene unfolds there. The child brushes his teeth, and the dog lies down, head between his paws, but with his eyes constantly following the movement. When the backpack is placed on his shoulder, Baruch gets up without being told. He learned that backpack plus keys in hand, plus clock striking 4 p.m. This kind of association, so natural, is a quiet superpower. It forms the basis for what, hours later, emerges as courage. The mindset that emerges is simple and powerful. Presence before haste, attention before reaction, connection before confrontation. It sounds like philosophy, but it's practiced day after day. The value of small routines for children can't be ignored, too. The family agreed on a simple password that only close friends know, and that makes a difference. The agreement not to open the gate for strangers, to ask for confirmation at the window, to call an adult when something doesn't add up. Baruch doesn't know the password, but he can read the background music. When someone's speech is too soft for no reason, when a gesture doesn't fit the situation. He doesn't need to understand the words child abduction to identify dissonance. The real-life impact of this is enormous. Seconds are gained, a forced pause that exposes the other person's intentions, an emotional barrier that disarms strategies for rapport. This is the less visible but decisive part, which rarely makes headlines. The furry hero doesn't replace human responsibility, he enhances what the family builds. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this topic. Let's observe how trust and reading the environment translate into concrete action. Imagine the late afternoon of a random Tuesday. The sky, in that transition from gold to pink, makes the street look like a photograph. The mother puts her cell phone in her pocket, adjusts the child's coat, and the two turn the corner. Baruch, on the leash, smells the day, a mixture of freshly baked bread from the bakery, gasoline from the car that just parked, the faint perfume of someone who passed by. At the intersection, everything seems normal, except for one detail that only those paying attention notice. A man leaning against a pickup truck, his posture too relaxed for someone waiting, his gaze not focused on anything specific, but measuring the distance from the sidewalk to the gate. Baruch slows half a step. It's minimal. The child is still talking about the school drawing. The mother searches for the keys, and the dog makes a silent decision. He positions his body between the child and the man, without noise, without growling, just presence. This is the point, where the hidden truth of instinct presents itself as a conscious choice. The leash is still loose, but the line of his chest stiffens. The man smiles, makes a generic comment about the backpack, perhaps starts a conversation about the local sports team as if trying to be friendly. Baruch doesn't bark. He measures. Anyone who lives with dogs knows there's a bark that's carnival and another that's an alarm. Before the second bark sounds, the reading comes. He takes a step forward the instant the man tries to catch up with the child without touching, but entering the intimate zone. The dog considers protected territory. The mother feels the tension in the leash cord reaching her hand, as if a subtle current were passing through. There's no panic, there's focus. And focus changes destiny. In the preceding days, there were small reverberations of this scene. On Monday, a motorcyclist slowed to observe. Last week, a person asked 3 questions about the schedule at the school gate. Alone, these episodes seemed random. Together, they form a narrative that Baruch had already read by the scent of misplaced repetition. The dog's decision in that second has the DNA of all this. He steps forward, places his paw firmly on the ground, his body angled to contain, his gaze fixed, and finally lets out the low bark that vibrates in his chest, a warning that doesn't ask permission. The man hesitates. The child, not understanding the mathematics of intentions, but understanding his friend's signal, brings his body closer to his mother. The walk seems frozen in a frame, while a film of unlived possibilities plays in silence. The next bark isn't a scream, it's a hammer hitting a table. Not here! Some believe this is all just an automatic reaction. Those who live day to day know there are choices involved. The guard mentality isn't synonymous with aggression. It's about calibration. It's about not confusing noise with courage. It's about knowing where to position your body to influence the situation. And it's about the family having patiently built permission for the dog to express itself without losing control. A truth that transforms the narrative is understanding that the dog doesn't act alone. It's part of a living system called home. This understanding, when put into practice, dispels myths and opens the door to better decisions, safer, calmer, more effective. The neighborhood remained the same. The square remained where it always was. But that Tuesday took on a new shape in everyone's memory. Not because of a spectacle, but because of the delicacy with which a necessary intervention occurred at just the right moment. This is how moving animal stories are born, from the encounter between instinct and bond, between worldview and presence. And when the child later strokes Baruch's neck and he closes his eyes as if grateful for a place to protect, we feel the gentle weight of what truly matters. This experience doesn't just become a memory, it becomes a map for future walks, a standard for future choices, a beacon for other families who, by listening, can adjust their own route so that safety isn't a coincidence, but a conscious construction that continues to unfold, scene after scene, step after step, bark after bark, in the exact rhythm that the street breathes and reveals nuances that only attention captures and retains. He comments, "That makes sense to me." 5:12 p.m. The gate creaks softly, the backpack swings on the shoulder, the late afternoon sun paints the street a yellow that seems to warm even the concrete. The child crosses the sidewalk distractedly, telling his mother stories about class, while Baruch walks a step behind, attentive as if he sees layers we don't. The smell of the bakery mingles with the damp earth of the neighbor's garden, and the wheels of a bicycle scratch the asphalt up ahead. Everything ordinary, everything safe, until a small silence, the kind that breaks the music of everyday life, gives way to a new sound. Breathing approaching unhurriedly, footsteps trying to appear casual, someone's shadow reflected in the window of the house next door. 5:14 p.m. A stranger appears in view, middle-aged, wearing a neutral t-shirt, his gaze sliding from face to hand, from hand to gate, from gate to corner. He makes a generic comment about the size of the backpack, an empty, grace as if testing the waters, and asks, with practiced friendliness, if the school schedule has changed. The air feels the same, but Baruch's body reads a different score. Ears pricked, neck straight, chest expanding slowly, gaze fixed not on the man's face, but on his waistline and shoulders, where intention usually betrays the next move. There's no barking yet. There's focus. It's the exact second everything changed, though no one announced it. 5:15 p.m. The dog notices something wrong. For the mother, it's just a moment. For Baruch, a decision. He shifts his body half a step in front of the child, creating a living barrier. Those observing from the outside notice only an adjustment in position. Those who understand the behind-the-scenes nature of protection see a mentality at work, being between what one loves and what threatens, while alternatives unfold. The stranger takes another step, brings his hands closer, tries to engage with an impromptu compliment, and in the same gesture reaches for the backpack strap. The touch doesn't quite happen, but the intention pierces the air like a metal wire brushing against concrete. Baruch's growl begins low, subterranean, vibrating in our ribs. It's a short, precise sound, like the conductor's first touch before the orchestra. The child notices and naturally leans against the mother's hip, who, even without understanding the full sum, already senses something is out of place. The man moves back a centimeter and smiles, a smile that tries to appear relaxed, but doesn't convey the tension in his shoulders. The street remains the same, but the route has changed. When we talk about transformation in high-risk situations, we often imagine a cinematic explosion. In real life, the impact is born of micro-choices. Baruch's calculated advance isn't an attack, it's a message. He shifts his weight onto his front paws, keeps the leash still loose, and occupies the space clearly. It's as if he's drawing an invisible line on the ground, no further. The stranger tries one last trick, a deceptive phrase that says he's a friend of the family, that he's taken the child before. This is where a hidden truth often goes unnamed comes into play, the memory of the environment. Baruch knows the scent of his friends, the rhythm of their voices, the music of the laughter that belongs to that house. What he feels now doesn't match any of that. His chest vibrates again. The bark comes as a firm, low, unhysterical warning and travels down the street like a beacon. A neighbor looks up from the mango tree. The lady in the blue house pauses the soap opera on the radio. The cyclist slows down. Silent witnesses are born where the right sound calls them. There are signs of stress and alertness in dogs that owners can recognize with training and attention. Dilated pupils in a bright environment, a rigid body, a rear end poised at a medium height. The face creating micro-tensions around the muzzle, breathing that alternates between rhythmic and concentrated. Baruch's gaze doesn't dance. It focuses, assesses, anticipates. The decision, and here I speak of decisions in the plural, happens in small steps, first positioning, then verbalizing with the body, finally, if necessary, vocalizing. This Order makes a difference in the impact of the scene because it reduces the chance of escalation. The man understands that the line has been drawn and that someone is watching him, not just the dog, but the eyes the barking summoned. To turn back for him is to lose control of the situation. To persist is to face a barrier that takes away the supposed advantage of surprise. He tries to maintain the posture of someone who was just making conversation, but the step back betrays the change of plan. The clock's time is seconds. The time of experience is vast. Years of bonding, repetition, and small rituals, all of this culminates in this instant. The mother, in a low voice, speaks the dog's name and adds "together," and Barak responds without taking his eyes off the man. This consistency is an essential revelation. Obedience and protection are not mutually exclusive. They enhance each other. The stranger pretends to look at his cell phone, adjusts his cap, and turns in a curve that tries to appear natural, but accelerates too much on the way out. Barak's final bark isn't a chase, it's a signature. He takes 2 steps back, reapproaches the child's body, and lets out a long sigh, the kind that unravels the world. The danger didn't become a movie scene because it was contained before it. Became a spectacle. And it's in this backstage that the value lies. Some people wonder if any dog would do the same. The honest answer is that there's no magic formula, but there is a way. The journey of a family guardian is born from the combination of coherent basic training, environmental awareness, and emotional openness. Dogs learn by association. If every return to their name is reinforced, if every wait at the gate yields predictability, if every walk becomes a dialogue, the animal's brain begins to more accurately filter what makes sense and what doesn't. This structured mindset changes the outcome of scenes like the one at 5:15 p.m. It's not about turning the dog into a soldier, it's about inviting them to be partners in decision-making. In practice, this means teaching a stay that serves as a foundation, a heel that serves as a bridge, a no that doesn't require shouting to be understood. It also means the human assuming their own presence, because the courage a dog expresses is often a reflection of its surroundings. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject. There's a detail that seems small, but carries tremendous power: silent anticipation. The second the stranger attempts to approach, Barak closes the distance between himself and the child without pushing, without pressuring. It's the creation of a warm shield, built of body and intention. There's science in this gesture. Dogs are masters at reading micro-variations in posture and scent, capturing adrenaline and cortisol in the air like reading a traffic sign. Our language stumbles, theirs cuts through. When the growl appears, it's not an isolated explosion. It's the visible tip of a reading iceberg. On the surface, the scene is simple. Beneath it, there's a structure. This structure includes everyday affection. It includes clear boundaries. It includes a map of behaviors that the family has patiently consolidated. It's not glamour, it's emotional engineering. And when it's all over, there are no fireworks. There's silence that regains its shape. There's the sound of footsteps resuming their rhythm. There's breathing that finds its rhythm again. The child holds the leash at hip height and smiles with the corner of his mouth, without naming what he feels, but acknowledging the security that accompanies it. His mother rests her hand on Barak's neck, and the warm skin beneath his fur tells an entire story without saying a word. The street, the same as always, seems to hold new revelations. The shadow cast on the wall, the reflection in the window, the neighbor who noticed, the cyclist who slowed down. The impact of what didn't happen leaves as much of a mark as what did. The hidden truth of protection is precisely this. The best outcome is the one that doesn't make headlines, the one that doesn't need a siren, the one that returns to its axis almost at the same pace at which it almost lost its way. Knowing How to recognize the signs of a dog on alert is a learned skill, just like learning to look at intersections. Pupils, ears, tail, body, everything speaks volumes. But it's in the invisible conversation between human and puppy that effectiveness manifests. Some think barking is the primary tool. Sometimes it's silence that paves the way. Some confuse tension with aggression. Sometimes it's steady calm that creates a safe space. And there are those who believe that worlds collide at the climax. Almost always, they reorganize before it. What remains on that Tuesday is a shift in mindset. If the routine is a gentle training ground, the critical moment ceases to be an abyss and becomes a bridge crossed with lucidity. There's no absolute guarantee, there never is, but there are decisions that push probability in the right direction. When night falls and the house lights come on, the city breathes again in rhythm. The smell of dinner wafts through, the soap. Opera's volume drops as the commercials enter, and Baruch curls up on the rug, as he always has. The difference lies in a layer that only those who have lived there perceive. The house understands itself as a team, and the dog knows he's part of it. There's a rest that only comes when presence has been exercised, a repose that only exists when attention has become protection. The journey isn't over, it's simply changed phase. With every step, at every corner, that line of afternoon reappears as a reminder that safety is a continuous construction, made of eyes that truly look, of voices that call firmly, of bodies that say, "This is home." And when the clock strikes a new day, that memory becomes a map, and the map becomes practice, and practice returns the street to its place as a possible setting, not a constant threat, as if the entire city could learn with a 3-year-old. Dog and an attentive family, that courage is a technique tempered by love, and that love, when well guided, has the precision of a scent that pierces the fog and finds the way. Right there, I'm on this journey too. The man takes a step back, his smile slipping like paint on a wet wall, and for a second the street breathes again. It's not peace yet, it's suspension. Baruch's bark spreads like a serious announcement that eyes are nearby. The lady from the blue house appears with soapy hands. The neighbor drops the hose. The cyclist turns the handlebars and pulls over. The attacker hurriedly assesses the scene, attempts some random comment, as if he could paste normalcy onto a situation that has already revealed its hidden truth. It doesn't stick. Baruch keeps his body forward, the leash remains under control, the mother states his name with calm firmness, and the child, trained in the basics that save, remembers the golden instruction. Don't talk to strangers. Don't go. With strangers, stay close to those who care. The transformation of this moment lies less in grand gestures and more in simple, well-structured decisions. The man realizes that the advantage has evaporated. Escape, almost always, is the path of those who live on brief opportunities. He turns his face away, pretends to look at a non-existent shop window, and walks too quickly for someone who wasn't doing anything. There's a millisecond in which everyone checks whether it's truly over. The human body takes a while to believe the danger has left the scene. The dog's body doesn't. Baruch exhales in a long sigh, lowering his back 0.5 centimeter, but doesn't dismount. He doesn't celebrate early. He walks with his family into the safe zone of the sidewalk, never losing sight of the direction of the corner. This mentality, presence before reward, comes from the routine that shapes instinct in the right direction. The impact of the bark was twofold. It drove away the stranger and drew the community's attention to the scene. The right noise at the right time brings forth witnesses, and witnesses change the geometry of the risk. The mother thanks the neighbors with a wave and calmly sets off on the best practices trail. A phone in hand, a lucid voice, objective information, without dramatic embellishments. Calmly explaining what happened is more effective than narrating with adrenaline. The emergency service operator needs data, not echoes. As she breathes and recounts, the mother makes another wise decision. She asks the child and the dog to enter the yard for a moment, not as if fleeing, but as if rearranging the board. The gate closes with that familiar sound that day almost sounds like an iron embrace. Baruch receives a touch on the neck and a stay that doesn't diminish him, but honors him. Significantly, the first reward isn't food, but recognition. You did what was needed. Fresh water in the bowl comes soon after, a well-deserved break to lower the body's vibration. Rest is part of the protocol. Heroes also need to slow down so the mind doesn't confuse alertness with constant threat. Behind the scenes, this is how the journey is sustained, wisely alternating tension and rest. Outside, the neighborhood helps piece together the mosaic. Someone remembers seeing the same man pass by earlier. Another comments on the truck, parked 2 streets up. Information without gossip, just what's necessary to reinforce the story. The mother, still on the phone, jots down objective details. Approximate height, shirt color, direction of exit. No baseless accusations. Everything should be recorded accurately. There's a transformation in attitude when the community understands each person's role. Some observe, others call, others retrieve relevant memories. This collective stitching makes a difference. After hanging up, the mother takes a breath and makes the next decision. Check street cameras. It's not a culprit hunt, it's a route reconstruction. Respectfully asked to see footage of the bakery, the house on the corner, the grocery store. Usually, a few minutes of frank conversation are enough for someone to offer help. These are simple, yet powerful revelations that organize the truth instead of spreading fear. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because here lies a game-changing point, the balance between emotion and method. It's natural to tremble inside. It's essential not to tremble outside when it's time to act. When calling the police, the most effective way is to describe what happened without adjectives, with time and space markers. 5:12 p.m., gate, backpack, approach, retreat, escape. A clear account strengthens the report and helps other patrols understand patterns. This care, besides protecting your family, impacts the safety of those who pass by every day. When we record the incident, we're not looking for headlines. We're paving the way for prevention. And yes, it's worth arranging some cuddle time with the child afterward, without turning the event into a ghost haunting the house. Children absorb our mindset. If they see us firm and clear, they learn to calmly build courage. Baruch, meanwhile, alternates his watch with moments of relaxation. The furry hero doesn't need to keep his chest up when the dust has settled. He accepts the water, lies down near the door, head on his paws, eyes half closed, but one ear still open. He's the picture of trust on duty. The family speaks softly, rearranges sentences, checks to make sure nothing is missing from the report. The child touches his fur, and in the touch, there's a gratitude that needs no words. These intimate moments of affection are truly where protection is born. The greater revelation, which sometimes goes unnoticed, is that courage is a set of small agreements maintained with discipline. When neighbors approach to check on her, the mother gives a brief statement, without turning the street into a courtroom, but reinforcing the essential. Baruch came in first. Got attention, we followed our agreement, it worked. There's enormous value in calmly saying it worked. It teaches the community to recognize what works and replicate it. One neighbor suggests checking the streetlights on the corner. Another suggests notifying the neighborhood group about busy times. These are simple decisions with a big impact. And at the center of it all, a 3-year-old dog who did what dogs know how to do when they're heard. Be where the danger begins, not where it explodes. Later, with the registration submitted and the store's images saved, the family gives Baruch what dogs understand most as a reward: unhurried affection, unwavering presence, a touch that says, I see you. He accepts, stretches, and the house feels that heavy relief we only notice when the emotional tide recedes. The furry hero gets some downtime in his favorite spot, a worn rug that holds the scents of many afternoons. The child leans next to him and recounts, in his own unique way, how he saw it all. The mother listens without correcting, without sowing fear, simply organizing memories with a security filter. This care for the internal narrative is part of the transformation that sustains the future, not romanticizing danger, not fueling paranoia, training attention with love. The neighborhood, which once seemed like a movie set, is once again what it always was, a place of passage and meeting. But the mentality has changed somewhat, and that degree makes a difference. Now everyone knows that a protocol is possible, the presence of the dog, noise that attracts neighbors, simple instructions for the child, calmly calling the police, searching for cameras, keeping a report clean of adjectives. None of this is a spectacle, all of it is protection. The aggressor who retreats learns that there are eyes and voices there, and that the chance of success is slim. The rumbling of fear, which sometimes lingers in episodes like this, loses strength when the truth takes hold. And here, truth has a name, a guide and pause, and yes, there's room to celebrate quietly. The family thanks Baruch with a look only those who know him understand. Instead of turning the dog into a tense guardian, he reaffirms the pact of lightness that has always existed between them. The bark that saved the afternoon doesn't become a signal for him to take on the weight of every street. It becomes a memory that educates. The next morning, when the sun hits the hallway's tile again, Baruch will follow the trail of light as always, because courage isn't a show, it's a habit. In practice, this is the outcome that matters. A house that knows what to do. A child who trusts the agreements. A dog that rests after fulfilling its duty. The rest is shared learning, the fabric of neighborhood, decisions that are repeated until they become culture. If you look closely, you'll notice that the turning point in this story wasn't the scream. It was the warning. It wasn't the chase. It was the presence. It wasn't the desperate gesture. It was the architecture of choices made before the scare. This is the hidden truth of successful scenes. They look like luck from the outside, but inside they're the sum of training, bonds, and mentality. When the community understands this, the map of the city changes a little. Lighter streetlights, coordinated schedules, eyes that recognize each other, dogs respected in the role they can play. This is how an episode ceases to be just a danger avoided and becomes part of a larger journey, one that crosses homes, corners, and memories, showing that security isn't a state, it's a movement. The phone rings back with a brief protocol. The neighbors wave goodbye. The soap opera resumes its dialogue, and the street settles back into its normalcy. What remains, however, is a golden thread running through everything. The certainty that a dog's courage and a family's lucidity can shift destiny a few centimeters toward care. And when we shift centimeters every day, we shift kilometers over time. There's something quietly grandiose about this, a revelation only those who experience it perceive. The furry hero didn't ask for a medal. He asked for water, a touch, a place to lie down. In return, he left a lesson that echoes beyond the gate. Attention is love put into practice. As the house slows down and the night yawns, the afternoon scene still shines for a few seconds in the memory, not as a trauma, but as a map. It's a simple map drawn by ordinary hands that any family can learn to read. And when the clocks begin another day, this intimate cartography will continue to guide steps, glances, and choices from the gate to the sidewalk, from the sidewalk to the corner, from the corner to the return home, in a cycle that strengthens every time someone decides to truly be present. Comment there, four-legged hero. When the street returns to normal and our hearts slow down, it's tempting to dismiss it all as a scare that's passed. But the hidden truth is that scenes like the one you just witnessed leave valuable clues to our protective mindset. Transformation doesn't happen in pretty speeches. It happens behind the scenes, in the way we look, in the agreements we make, in the small decisions that, when combined, change the course of an afternoon. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because there are signs and routines that any family can adopt without turning the house into a barracks, and that greatly increase the chance of a safe outcome when something deviates from normal, starting with what lives in the dog's skin. Warning signs don't appear suddenly. They grow like a discrete tide. Posture is the first signal. The body becomes more compact. The center of gravity moves forward half a step. The ears lift like antennae. The tail abandons its loose swing and assumes a neutral, firm height. The fixed gaze is another silent revelation. It's not curiosity, it's calculated focus, and I see you that follows the trunk, hands, shoulders, the possible origin of an unexpected gesture. The bark, when it comes, should be read as punctuation, not as everything. There are festive barks. There are barks of frustration, and there is the low, short warning that vibrates in the chest. Recognizing this vocabulary is part of the journey. The practical tip is to train your own eye. Observe your dog when a friend arrives, how he relaxes. When a delivery person appears, how he assesses. When a strange noise occurs on the street, how he freezes for a second before deciding what to do. This emotional dictionary, assembled without haste, is the basis of the calm authority that separates alarm from exaggeration. But isolated signals alone don't sustain protection. It's routine that gives them strength. A safe routine isn't paranoia. It's applied consistency. Common points matter. If we get separated in the square, meet here. If the doorbell rings and it's no one you know, call an adult. If you hear your name on the street, check who called before answering. A password with your child, a simple, discreet password agreed upon at home, is an elegant tool for breaking down deception attempts. Choose busy, well-lit, predictable routes. Repeated paths aren't boring. They're mental maps that help you notice when something is out of place. It may seem small, but the impact is enormous. When the mind knows what's normal, it quickly identifies deviations. And an important discovery here is understanding that the dog reads this map with you. He senses when the energy of the street changes, when the pace of the footsteps nearby slows down for no reason, when the corner, which was always neutral, suddenly demands more attention. There's also the dog training chapter, and it's less about hard training and more about clear conversations. Well-constructed basic commands are bridges to pressure situations. Sit isn't an acrobatic feat. It's an anchor that stabilizes the body and gives the brain an extra microsecond to make informed decisions. Stay is the life preserver that prevents hasty reactions, even when faced with provocation. Heel is the line that reorganizes the scene and protects the child, bringing the dog to the correct position with the leash slack and the owner's gaze fixed on it. Socialization is the foundation on which these bridges rest, gradually and positively exposing the dog to noises, bicycles, raincoats, hats, running children and strollers, so that the unexpected doesn't trigger confusion. It's not about demanding perfection. It's about establishing habits that work even when the heart races. And since we're talking about the heart, there's an often overlooked emotional component that changes everything: our internal posture. Dogs are keen readers of tension. If the family vibrates with panic, the dog interprets that the situation calls for confrontation. If the family vibrates with focus, he understands that the mission is to contain and communicate. This isn't invented on a critical day. It arises from daily micro-gestures. When crossing the street, breathe and call their name before walking. When meeting someone, model the welcome with your body. A step forward when you want to screen there. Approach, a relaxation of the shoulders when you recognize safety. These are the invisible decisions that shape the dog's performance when no one has rehearsed the scene. Now, a quick dive into best practices after the scare, because prevention can also be built with pencil and paper. Calling the police calmly, recording the time, location, visible characteristics, and direction taken is more effective than long narratives laden with adjectives. Searching for cameras in nearby businesses and homes, always with respect and objectivity, helps to piece together the story with facts, not assumptions. Filing a report isn't empty bureaucracy. It's a document that feeds statistics, patrols, and sometimes investigations that aren't immediately apparent. And yes, preserving the privacy of the child and family in conversations with neighbors is a wise decision. It allows you to inform without exposing. It allows you to ask for help without spreading fear. Some people ask, how do I know if I'm overdoing it? A useful guideline is to check the presence procedure proportion tripod. Presence means being there, looking, naming what you see. Procedure means following the agreed-upon instructions, keyword, meeting point, clear command for the dog. Proportion means calibrating the response. If the stranger just passed by, mentally register it. If someone approached, verbalize no. If someone attempted to touch, move away, get attention, and involve the community. This tripod reduces impulses and provides clarity. And, for the dog, the same logic applies. Presence, body positioning, procedure, looking at the owner, and responding to the command, proportion, vocalizing without escalating beyond what is necessary. When this pattern becomes a habit, the city ceases to be a backdrop and becomes a tailor-made setting for better choices. There is still a terrain of delicate revelations, our desire to shield everything. Total shielding doesn't exist. What exists is everyday intelligence. Busy routes don't guarantee success, but they discourage it. The key word isn't a wall, it's a filter. A well-mannered dog isn't a sworn guard, it's a fine-tuned emotional sensor. A maturing mindset accepts limits without discouragement, because it understands that the game of security is incremental. One day, you install a better light on the gate. The next, you agree with the neighbors on a signal gesture for strange situations. Then you teach your child to say no in a voice that can be heard. In parallel, you practice together in different environments. Every step has an impact. And when we look back, we realize the transformation. We no longer live in fear, we live in presence. You may be wondering what to do when your dog, by temperament, is more fearful or more outgoing than ideal. The answer lies in management decisions. For shy dogs, reinforce micro-victories outside the home. Present the world in doses that fit their courage. Practice sit and stay at safe distances, and let them observe before being touched. For outgoing dogs, teach self-control with waiting. Games, train team with eye contact reinforcement, and provide physical and mental energy outlets that prevent reactivity. In both cases, consistency is key. The dog learns what we repeat, and when we repeat calmness clearly, the response appears, sometimes not as a heroic scene, but rather as the absence of confusion where it could arise. Ultimately, this is the image I want you to remember. A family in conscious movement, a dog that reads the world with scent and affection, a child who knows its own voice, a community that doesn't turn its back. Heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they have paws, a nose, and a giant heart. And heroes, when supported by intelligent routines, don't need applause to function. They need water, rest, and people who know how to express gratitude through their presence. Between the attempt to touch the backpack strap and the retreat of someone planning a dark shortcut, there is a territory of choices that is within our reach every day. It is there that security arises before the shock. It is there that moving stories cease to be luck and become the consequence of preparation. And if you think it all ends on the sidewalk, know that the protection map continues in many scenarios. There are dogs that sense danger coming from the water before a stumble turns tragic. There are dogs that detect smoke and guide sleepy people out of their homes. There are dogs that block a staircase at the exact second a small body could fall. Each situation has its nuances, but the thread that ties them all together is the same: connection, understanding, and method. When this seam is firm, the city may remain unpredictable, but our response is no longer hostage to chance. What follows, then, is a road with familiar curves, where the headlights shine further because someone decided to adjust the height just right. Comment: that makes sense to me. If you've made it this far, thank you for walking with me through this story. It's this kind of companionship that gives meaning to what we build and makes the content truly useful in everyday life. If it made a difference to you, if you realize that you can transform routine into protection with simple decisions, consider subscribing to the channel. That way I can keep this conversation alive, bring more real-life stories, and deliver calmly and clearly what truly helps in practice. Also, leave a note in the comments to let me know you stuck it out. Write, "I'm with you until the end," because that shows me we're aligned and guides the next steps on this journey. And if the video resonated with you so far, leave a like. It's the lightest way of saying, "Keep going, this made sense to me." Now, without rushing, follow me. There's a video right here that complements this topic. Click and continue with me there.